Welcome back to Employability ESOL with Watch and the Accelerate project, and we'll get started. Okay, so today we're looking at the singular and the plural, and our learning objectives are to learn the difference between the singular and plural words and how to turn a singular word into a plural. It's quite a simple thing to do, but sometimes people forget it. So we're just going to quickly go over what we mean by singular and plural and how to turn particularly nouns into the singular or into the plural. Okay, so what are singular and plural words? So the singular means just one person, animal, place or thing. So one person, one lady, one doctor, or one book, one object. So just one person, animal, place or thing. Whereas the plural means more than one. So you could have many people, a few people, many books, or a number of books, or a number of things. So it's quite simple that singular is one person, animal, place or thing, whereas the plural is more than one. So it's a really easy way to remember it. You've got singular, and if you look at the word singer, you can think about single being like one person, and plural just means more than one. So here's a few examples of singular words. Like in the past couple of weeks, we've got this lady here who could be a call operative or receptionist, or working in customer service, some kind of role like that. And we'll just look at the objects around her and see how these could be described as singular words. So just a person, a place, or a thing, or an animal. So she is a person. So person is our singular form of the word. She's just got one laptop. So you would just say laptop. You would not put an S on the end to make laptops if there was more than one. She's just got one keyboard. So that would just be our singular word. Telephone on its own tells us that she's just got one telephone. That is a singular word. And then there's one clock telling the time, and there's just one of them. So we know that all these are singular words, as it does not imply that there's more than one, there's only one, and there's nothing on the end of the words or in the picture to tell us that there's more than one. So that's what a singular word is. Whereas a plural word, you can see many of one thing. So you see we've got two computers. So our words, it would be computer if it was singular, but this S on the end tells us that there's two of them. And so that makes the word plural because there's more than one. There's one, two, there's two, or there's three computers. People. So instead of person, so if there was just one person, we would say person, but because there's lots of people, we would write it as the plural word as people. Workers, instead of just one worker, there's more than one worker, so we have this S on the end, which tells us it's a plural and that there's more than one worker there. And there's more than one desk. There's about 4 or 5 to my count, and this S on the end tells us that there is multiple desks, and so that is the plural, is where there is more than one. We've got a little example here with we've got a doctor. So there's one doctor here, but over here there is a group of doctors with that S on the end, and because the S is on the end, that tells us that there's more than one. And the same goes for person. There's one person, but there's a group of people. So it doesn't always work out that the plural word will have the S on the end, but if you definitely see the S on the end, then it's definitely a plural. Sometimes it will be a different form. It will be more of a irregular a word, so it will be it will turn, say, from person to people. So these ones, I'm afraid you're just going to have to learn to recognise and spell. But things where you can just put the S on the end, those ones are really easy to recognise. So we've got our singular, person and doctor, and then we've got people and doctors as our plural. Okay, and now with animals, sometimes you have words for a group of animals that can tells you that it's a plural and it's a group, but it is particular to just that kind of animals. So a group of cows or cattle, they are a herd. You get that with horses and sheep, they're all, or zebras, they're all, or elephants, they're all herds, which is a word for group, but that is the plural form of, so you would say singular, a cow, plural, a herd of cows. And same with like bees or insects, they would be a bee or an insect if it was singular, but if there was a group of them, they would be known as a swarm. There's lots of different types of these. I just think through use and through practice, you're going to get to recognise the different types of groups that are words for animals. Okay, and then we've got places. So remember that a singular or plural can be of a person, a thing, a place, or an animal, and they can turn from singular to plural. So if you look at places, we've got a house. House is a place on its own. There's just one, so that's a singular. So house is a singular, one house, and then one road. But when we look at them in the plural, we've got the S on the end. So we've got houses. So there's more than one house. So there's houses with the S on the end. There's more than one road. So we put the S on the end to make the plural. So we've got the singular, house and road, and the plural is houses and roads, which mean there's more than one. Okay, so now we've looked at people, animals and places. We're now going to look at things. And commonly, when you turn something from the singular into the plural, you would normally just add on S onto the end of the root word. So we're not taking off any letters, we're just adding S on the end. So here we have the example of job. There's one job, you might see a job advert, but a company may have many jobs advertised. So this S on the end tells us that there's more than one. Singular is job, plural is jobs with the S on the end. And the same goes for book. Book is our singular, but when we add the S on the end, we get several, we get many books. So we know there's more than one. Now, if you remember this word skill, it means something you're good at, something you've got experience of doing. So one of these things might be communication. So you might have good communication. But when we add, and skill could be one, means one of these, but when we add the S on, you could have many. So instead of just communication skills, you could have listening skills, teamwork skills, anything really, anything you could be good at. So, but this S on the end tells us that there's more than one. So you might have good reading and literacy skills, but you also might have more than one. So you might have good verbal skills, where we add the S on to make it a plural. So job, book, skill are singular because there's only one, whereas jobs, books and skills are plural because there's more than one. And this S on the end tells us that it is a plural. So that's how you turn a singular into a plural. And likewise, you could turn the plural back to the single by taking the S off. Okay, now here's a few spelling rules. Don't worry, you don't need to learn them straight away, but it's good to practice them and be able to recognise. So when we look at plurals, for words ending in S, SH, X, CH and SS, we're going to add ES onto the end of the word. Okay, so we've got the example of bus. Here's a bus, we've got a double-decker red bus, and if we've got one, we just have it as bus, but if we're going to make it into a plural, then you need to, because it's got the S on the end, we're going to add ES onto the end. So if you remember from before, if a word hasn't got an S on the end, you add the S on to make it a plural. But with this, because the word bus already had the S, we're just going to add ES on the end to make it a plural so that we know there's more than one bus. Okay, the same goes for SH. We have the word brush, and so here we've got a brush. So that's one singular brush, but because it's got the SH on the end, when we want to say the painter has many brushes, we add the ES onto the end of the word brush. Okay, and then if we were to talk about fox, Fox has an X on the end. Here's a fox. And to talk about more, if you see more than one fox, you would say foxes with ES on the end. Same goes for lunch. You've got this CH on the end. So because we've got the CH on the end, we're just going to be adding ES on. So I like to eat my lunch at 12 o'clock. That would be singular, but the dinner lady, the lunchtime supervisors make many lunches for the children. You would put ES on the end to make it plural. The same for this spelling rule of adding ES on the end is the same for glass. So here's glass. We've got a glass here, and because it's got SS on the end, we're going to add ES onto the end of the word to make it plural. So I have 1 glass of water. The waitress carried several glasses of water. Yeah, so see how we turn these singulars into plurals by adding the ES onto the end. Okay, so, often this will be a spelling you'll just learn in practice, but it's still good to be able to recognise and know that, oh, I'm going to add an ES on the end to make this a plural. Okay, so there are other types of ways to spell words and turn them into plurals. So if you have a word ending in F, like loaf, so we've got a loaf of bread, you're going to add VES onto the end and take the F off. So it will become loaves. So we have loaves of bread. So you see the difference? We've got the singular loaf, plural loaves, and what we've done is we've got rid of the F and we've added VES onto the end. Now there's another example of how to spell a plural. So for words ending in a consonant and then a Y, we're then going to add IES onto the end of the word and get rid of that Y. So here we have the word vacancy. So as in a job vacancy, the local shop has a job vacancy. Now, if they have more than one job advertised, we're going to need to turn this word into a plural. So because we've got a consonant, we've got the letter C, which is a consonant. It's not a vowel, it's a C, so it's a consonant. We're then going to get rid of this Y and we're going to add IES onto the end. So from vacancy, it's now become vacancies, the plural. So we have 1 vacancy, we have 2 vacancies. Okay, so that's just another thing you're going to have to learn to recognise to get rid of that Y and put the I, E and the S onto the end for the plural. Okay, so here we've got another example. So if you have words that end in a vowel and then a Y, so instead of a consonant like we looked at vacancies, they instead, if they have a vowel and then a Y, you're just going to add S onto the end of the word. So here we have the word key. So we've got a key, 1 singular key. This is the singular word, but we want to turn it into the plural to say we've got several keys. Because we have this vowel here, this E is a vowel, we know we're going to just add S onto the end. So we have 1 key, we have many keys, and this vowel there and the Y tells us we're just going to add S onto the end. Keys can also refer to your keyboard on your laptop or computer. So the letters that you press, they're called keys as well. Just a quick bit of information in case you didn't realise, but you can have different types of keys. Okay, then when we're going to look at plurals, we've got a few exceptions to these spelling rules because unfortunately not everything follows a simple rule. So there are some things that just don't act within it, but you can always use a dictionary for help and just learning the spellings of words. You'll start to recognise how to do these. So if you remember before when we had loaf, oops. You remember before when we had loaf, I'll just take it back. It ended in F and then we would add the VES on, we'd get rid of the F and we'd have the VES added onto the end. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case for all words. So if we look at this word belief, so a belief is something that you believe in, it's an idea you have, and you either expect is true or expect to happen. So you might have self-belief in yourself to do certain tasks, or you might hold maybe religious beliefs, but it's kind of an abstract thing, it's a thought. But if you were to say you have self-belief, that would be singular. If you were to say you have beliefs, we would be adding the S on the end, but because it's got an F, for just the way it's spelled, we're not going to be adding the VES on and getting rid of the F like with loaves. Instead, you're just adding S onto the end. And the same goes for the word chef. So a chef, we're not getting rid of this F, but we're just adding S on instead. So sometimes you'll always have exceptions to the spelling rules. Unfortunately, that's just something that is just going to come with practice and with time and with recognising different words. Okay, now we're going to look at plurals in a sentence. We're going to read through the sentence like we always do, and first we're going to find nouns. So what's our sentence? There are many websites that advertise hospitality vacancies for large companies. Okay, so our nouns are our person, our place, our things, our animals. So what are our nouns? We've got there are many websites. Now website is a thing, so that's a noun. That advertise hospitality. Hospitality, that's a thing, that's a sector, a job sector. Vacancies, yeah, that's like a job advert, that's a noun for large companies. And companies is our last noun in the sentence. Okay, so now we're going to look for our verb. So there are many websites that advertise. Now advertise is our verb, it's our action word, our doing word in the sentence. Hospitality vacancies for large companies. Now we're going to look for our adjectives. Now if you remember, an adjective is this word that describes the noun. So we're going to look for our nouns. We've got websites. So many could be an adjective that advertise hospitality vacancies. You might also want to say hospitality could be an adjective. It's describing the vacancy further, what type of vacancies they are. And for large is our other adjective. It's describing the companies. Okay, and then you need our conjunctions. So our conjunctions just tie together the sentence. So we've got many websites advertise hospitality vacancies, large companies. That doesn't quite make sense, does it? So we need to add in our conjunctions, which just make the sentence make sense and connect all the words together. So now we've got there are many vacancies that advertise hospitality vacancies for large companies. Okay, and we're now going to look for the plurals in the sentence. So remember, we're looking maybe for the S on the end of words, or the IES or the VES. Think about what we've just looked at, and we're going to look at our nouns. So websites, is this a singular or plural? We've got that ES on the end, or the S on the end of website. So we know that this is in the, this is a plural because there's more than one website. So let's keep looking through the sentence. There are many websites that advertise hospitality vacancies. Now vacancies is another plural, as we've got this IES on the end. The Y's been taken off. If it was singular and the IES tell us there's more than one. So vacancies for large companies, and we've got the IES on companies. So we know that our plurals are websites, vacancies and companies, as these are the ones that are the plurals in the sentences. There's more than one noun. Okay, so let's have a quick look back at today's session and what we've looked at. So we've looked at what are singular and plural words. We've established that singular is a person, a place or a thing or an animal where there's just one, and plural words are where there's more than one. So if we were to look, here's a quick example. We have chef is our singular word because there's just one chef, but chefs are when there's more than one. You might have a kitchen full of chefs. So that's our plural word, where there's more than one. So how to turn singular words into plurals is also what we've looked at. So we've looked at all the different spelling variations, adding the S on, the VES, the IES, the taking off of the different letters. We've looked back at this. You can, to review this, you can look at the YouTube video when it's put up later this week, to go over the different spellings again if you've not had time to catch them. But also don't worry, as these, if you're on Accelerator, in the email I sent you, you've all received the singular and plural worksheets, and we've got all these spelling rules on the worksheet and in the ESOL booklet. So don't worry, you've got all of these to refer back to if you didn't catch it all today. Okay, and so what's next? So we're going to, you can tick off singular and plurals from your lesson checklist. So you can tick that off to say you've attended that one. You've not got many left to go now for this quick course. Hopefully you have found it useful. You've also got the singular and plural worksheets to complete at home. We can have a quick look at one of these just now, as it mentions something that I didn't get to go over in the presentation today, and that is irregular plurals, where in, you know, the way when we looked at person became people, this is kind of similar to all these other irregular plurals. Here are a few common ones. So you might have one man, but when it becomes plural, it will become men. So you take the A out and it becomes the E to say there's plural. And the same goes for woman. We've got that A when it's singular, but it becomes E when there's more than one, when it's plural. Children, so you've got one child will become two children. So this is the plural. You might have 1 foot, so that might be your left foot. But when you talk about both of your feet, 2 feet, it becomes E's, so O's to E's. I've just realised there's a little mistake on this sheet. Oops. But you have 1 tooth, and that's wrong. But you have 1 tooth. 1 tooth becomes 2 teeth. Okay, so you've got those O's to E's. Yeah, okay. And then if we look at quickly at what below, so we're going to put these words into their plural form. So we've got the singular, so we've got offer, interview, application and photocopy. So remember to be careful about all the different spelling rules, and we'll just look at the first one. So you might have one job offer, or you might have several job offers, where, so what we're going to do is for the word offer, we are going to add an S on the end to make that into the plural. So we've got the singular and we've turned that into the plural. Okay, and then there's a few more sentences to go through, which you can go through in your own time. So yeah, so today has been the singular and plural words. Do join us on Thursday at 11 AM, where we're going to be finding out more about pronouns and how they differ from normal nouns, and how to recognise them and use them in different sentences. Okay, so thank you for joining today. If you have any questions, do drop me an email or get in touch with us at Watch. I'll end this session now, but thank you for joining today, everyone. See you on Thursday at 11 AM for pronouns. I'm going to end the session now. Thanks, guys.